Because if you give yourself no options of going back, you're going to find a way. Burn the fucking boats. Exactly.
Yeah.
Your brain will automatically find a way. If you're, about to go broke,
Yeah.
I can't tell anyone how they're going to make their money, but they're going to make their money regardless if they like rob someone or something. I mean, obviously we don't want it to go that far, but
Sure.
they're going to find a way. And the best thing I heard was like, I don't have a plan B because it's always plan A,
right?
And then it's just figuring it out from there. Yeah. And we have, right? Like, I mean, we've been fine.
For sure.
Yeah.
I went to a Tony Robbins seminar here in Vegas a long time ago, and he said that, and right after it, he said, because those people who are either going to die or succeed tend to succeed. And that's fucking, I was like, whoa.
That gives me goosebumps, man.
For sure.
Yeah. So many of those stories like that go to Tony Robbins is like the OG.
Oh yeah.
It's just many people.
I spent 10 grand on a 5-day seminar.
I was going to say, man, how much do those cost?
It was 10
Even
grand.
back then.
It was 2016. It wasn't that long.
Okay.
But it was a 5-day seminar from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And bro, he didn't leave the stage to pee. Like he was on stage for 12 hours hammering. And I was just like mind blown the whole time. And then he would leave at 9 and he'd have another person come on until 11, and then we'd be back the next morning. And just, I have books and books and books full of notes and stuff. And it really helped my business. It was good stuff for business.
Yeah, absolutely. That neuro-linguistic programming is no joke.
Right.
Yeah, he's up. I mean, he's very, very energetic. Either that or you gave him that $1,000 worth of cocaine. He's just
right.
Yeah, but so, from the story that you told me growing up, what have you implemented in your kids now that you realize, back then? Hindsight's always 20/20. What's the biggest lesson that you instill in them?
Don't be like that.
Yeah. I mean, it made you hard though. Like
it did. It did. No question. And my kids came up very different than me. I did not want them to come up like I did. So at the same time, as much as it was awesome that they didn't have to come up the way I did, they chose to fight. Right. So now there's these two kids that are fighting that never got in a street fight before. They're just really fucking good at the sport. And they started training when they were 10 and 11 years old.
That's insane, man.
And we would go to jiu-jitsu tournaments and kids would be like, Mom, there's the Brennan bros. There's the Brennan brothers. Or a parent would be like, boys, there's the Brennan bros. Like we'd walk into tournaments and kids would just be like, fuck, like if they were in their bracket,
Jeez, yeah.
and they won a lot, like they won a lot of matches, and then got into high school and started wrestling. And then through Tyler's or Lucas's, after his junior year, he was getting offers to wrestle, and it was like, okay, do you want to wrestle? Do you want to compete in jiu-jitsu at a high level, or do you want to fight? And he said, I want to fight. And I said, really? I said, okay. I said, you want to fight? Let's fight. Let's get a fight for you right now.
What do you think made him made that decision? Why is it in the fight? Is it just blood or is it just...
Yeah, I think so. And he had trained with my fighters, had trained with me a lot. Me and him had been, I was his number one training partner for a long time. And he decided that. And I said, okay, well, that's not for everyone. So let's get you a fight right now and figure it out.
Yeah.
And at 17, a week before his senior year started, he fought a 26-year-old dude and rear naked choked him in the 3rd round. And the promoter was like, hey, do you want another teen? I said, no, dude, give me a fucking guy with a beard and a family that works. I want a grown ass man. And Luke choked him in the 3rd round, and then fought again the week before his senior year ended, and then fought one more time out here in Vegas at Tough Enough for his last amateur fight. And then Bellator signed him and he fought 5 weeks later.
Sheesh.
But then Tyler wasn't interested in it. He was killing it, like super special jiu-jitsu. He had a couple 100 match win streaks against some very good guys. And then went into college wrestling, went into high school wrestling, then into college wrestling. And like probably halfway through college, he's doing very well, manhandling people. And Lucas is putting away a few $100,000.
Oh, really?
And Tyler's like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
And then he's such a high level athlete and mind. Instead of going from Little Rock where he was wrestling back home to my house and training with my guys, in a room that he's better than unfortunately, he's better than, all the guys in that room. And size-wise, he flew straight here and came straight to Syndicate. So his first days basically in MMA training were at Syndicate.
Really?
And he had killers on day one and was submitting him on the ground and taking him down and submitting him. And then I was like, yeah, clearly he's made for this. And he's very tough, and they've both been, Lucas was 9-0 in Bellator, but 8-0 going into his 9th fight. He had been hit 4 times. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Both.
Right,
Again, because being raised like he's been raised is a good thing and a bad thing, right? Being raised like I've been raised was a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah.
And so for him, was it good that he was able to get through 8 fights with 4 punches, no brain damage?
I mean, that's great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Had he been put in the fire yet? No. But I knew just from training that he was a dog, and I knew he was. One day I was going to have to watch him get beat physically and take it because he's not a quitter. And that fight, he fights Weber Almeida, one of Lyoto Machida's guys, very good and good karate, long stance. Short, stocky guy, but plays a real long game.
Bladed, really bladed. Yep.
And 2.5 rounds into the fight, he's down 2.5 rounds. Been calf kicked 20 times. Hard, can barely stand on the leg, and he's just taking it. And then 90 seconds left in the 3rd round, he knocks him out. Lucas knocks him out with a knee,
dude.
And I'm just like, oh my god, And then walking back to the back, I was like, hey, let's have the conversation that I wanted to have if you ever lost right now.
Right.
Let's have that conversation now because we stole that. We got the win, awesome, but let's take it as a loss. At least on paper it's a win, but let's take it as you don't get that many learning lessons off of a victory. Usually it's off of a loss.
Absolutely.
And he was able to be a dog to the end and knock him out. But I was like, let's go back now and fix some things.
It's a good mindset to have, but can you really emulate that when you're high on a win with like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
I
you gotta really
that.
feel the loss. I
just wanted to be able to go back and correct things that I had seen coming already. And unfortunately, it trickled into his next 2 fights, and he lost 2 decisions after that. And a lot of it was Bellator. Our goal was to fight in Bellator on the AJ McKee route, get to the title, and then hopefully switch to the UFC at the top, so he can get paid to come to the UFC.
Yes.
And looking back now that everyone's coming over to the UFC, not doing so hot, I'm glad we got a couple fights outside. But Bellator went up for sale. And we're just like, oh man. And that just kind of took the wind out of his sails. And then Tyler was supposed to come back from college the year before and start training and decided to stay another year. So Lucas just lost all motivation. Going into the Weber fight, I knew he was already lacking motivation and training so. Beat him, but then his next 2, was just kind of, I don't think he didn't love the sport. He literally quit after I think it was the first one. He told me he didn't want to do it again.
Tyler?
Lucas.
Oh, Lucas.
Yeah.
I mean,
he just said he didn't want to do it again, didn't love it. He's been doing it since he's 11. He's burnt out.
Interesting.
And so I had him take some time. I said, take some time, don't come in. And he kept coming in to watch practice. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I want to miss it. I said, you're not going to fucking miss it sitting here watching it.
Yeah.
I said, people, you do that when you're injured. I said, go find something to do it. And don't come back to fight just because you don't have anything else to do, because we haven't done anything else. You have a lot of money put aside. You can do anything you want. We can fucking do anything you want. So just take your time, go do something else and stay away from it for a little bit. And so he did. A month he didn't come in the gym. And then he gradually started coming back into coach jiu-jitsu. He runs the wrestling program there, all the high school wrestlers. So he kept teaching that at night, but then, gradually he came back in. Then he said he wanted to fight. And then he fought, lost a split decision. And the next day said he wanted to fight. And I was like, okay, he's got it back. And, he just needed a break, a mental break more than anything. And it's a fucking hard sport, man. Mm. And I think especially for people like him, Tyler, take other kids that weren't fighters growing up. They're good at the sport. They're good strikers, good jiu-jitsu, good wrestling, and putting it all together. But there's so much, like you're asking, what goes on, what went on in my head to make me want to be a fighter? What was fucked up? They didn't have any. You know, they didn't have any of the trauma like that. And there's plenty of people. I don't know if GSP had trauma like that. He was just a fucking stud in the sport.
Yeah.
You know, there are people that do it, that didn't go through it as a kid, the trauma, but it's harder, I think. I think it's a little bit harder at that point to do that, to do this sport, not having that, you know, to look back on.
Well, when you talk about like, you know, especially the old school guys like yourself and, you know, Frank Mir and the rest of those guys, it's like grit, toughness, right? You see these guys and just, I mean, in the very first UFC, it was just like, dude, these guys look like they came out of like WWE and just start pounding each other, right? When the sport was new.